you gave to me all of my life to do as I please. I owe everything I have to you, mother, sweet mother of mine. Mother of mine, when I was young, you showed me the right way. Things had to be done without your love. Where would I be? Mother, sweet mother of mine. Mother, you gave me happiness, much more than words can say. I thank the Lord that He may bless you every night and every day. Mother of mine, now I am grown and I can walk straight all on my own. I'd like to give you what you gave to me, mother, sweet mother of mine. Mother, you gave me happiness, much more than words.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. How the devil are you? What a funny old day we're having. I just want to highlight, I'm going to talk about, what's his name? Masood. I don't know what his name is really. Should we call him Michael? Maybe just Dave. And I was going to play a clip of him, but I find him so repulsive. That I just can't bring myself to. So you may be aware there is a trial going on at the moment. It's to do with it's an employment tribunal and how women have been badly treated by end of a rape crisis. Let me just say this, and I want to be a little bit. Oh yeah, by the way, I am wearing the hibiscus, hateful, very lovingly. I always look. I don't know what it is. It must be the way I sit. But anyway. This is a red metallic vinyl love t-shirt with it. Look, can you see that little bit of extra? Or you can get it in Diamante. I can't show you that either, but I'll probably wear it next week. But I can't tell you how much I love them. So this is a sweatshirt. We also do it in a hoodie. We will be doing it in long sleeve tops and so on. It's the season. It's a month of love next month. But I might be able to do it in pink. I've got to find a suitable pink. So sorry about that, Rebecca. Anyway, this particular man is of Indian descent. He claims that he came over with recognition of his pretend fake made up status. Can I just say that when he came to this country, there was no such thing as even a third sort of recognized sex in India. And he certainly wouldn't have been able to identify as a woman legally in India. So that's all since he came here. He then worked on a helpline or whatever. I don't know too much about him. This is what I think I know. He worked on a phone line or something, or some sort of peripheral something. And I'm just gonna say it. We're not supposed to say it. We're supposed to not say these things. But what the hell would I be doing if I didn't? Do we honestly think all those years ago when he became the CEO of Rape Crisis, do we think he would have got away with pretending to be a woman if he wasn't Indian? Do I think that this fear that people have, gutless cowardice that people have about not wanting to seem racist, I think helped him. I think he had two lots of cover. I think he had the Indian kind of white people don't want to be racist, so nobody's going to question it cover. And I think he had then after that, he had trans vulnerable minority. He calls himself a mother. From what I gather in conversations, I think him and his husband have adopted. I think he's got a husband. I think he's talked about a husband. So I think that's how it is. But do I think that perverts have tried to get their way around? Oh, and let me just say, he was asked about something to do with rape. And one of the things he wanted everyone to know is that some women's bodies, some women actually respond positively. Their bodies respond positively to rape. Um, and they can orgasm. I think of all the things, if I had a top 3 things to say and I'd worked in a rape crisis center and I had the top 3 things to say about that, I wouldn't be talking about women's orgasms. But that's just me. I'm not a deviant AGP fraud and liar. And I'm not enabled by a load of women all around me. Now, I have much contempt for these women. I remember interviewing a woman quite some time ago, thinking that she was something. It was up in Scotland, and then finding out that actually they are trans inclusive, so they include men. And often you find this. It's all over. There was a man interviewed in Pink News who claimed that he stayed in a shelter, women's only shelter in Brighton 10 years ago. Oh, by the way, how nice is that? And I just think the women's sector, we know that they are cowards. We know that they have not shouted loud enough about the decimation of women only spaces and centres. And often when they talk, those women say about trans. I think when I interviewed this woman, I think she even said something about trans women or trans inclusive or whatever. And I just thought, well, I can't promote you then because you're a traitor. Now, what's his face? Wanker. Is that his name? Something like Wanker. When he got his job as CEO of Rape Crisis, he didn't appoint himself. He didn't just land in a position where nobody knew that he was a man LARPing as a woman. He didn't do that on his own. He was enabled by most of the women that worked with him. And everywhere, even the Counting Dead Women census, there were threats by management to put men who identify as women. And we know that Jess Phillips read out a boy, who was killed by a couple of sociopaths. And it was absolutely, he wasn't killed because anyone thought he was a woman, and he wasn't killed because anyone was worried about how he identified. He was killed because there were 2 sociopaths who fancied killing people, and he was on a list. So anyway, this is really where we are. We're in a situation where the women that are employed in a sector which is probably not very well funded, and let's just remember that I tried to give Aurora Dawn, I think it's called, £20,000 that I'd raised for women's domestic violence shelters, and we thought maybe we could do one, and we couldn't. So I tried to give it to them, and basically they didn't want my money because it wasn't even my money, but they didn't want they didn't want to accept anything from me, because obviously they've got too much money. That must be the case, right? They must have too much money at Aurora Dawn, or it might be because she is. I think she's on the board of WP UK, who also had that terrorist sympathizer. So, clearly violence against some women is not that big a deal for those women. They don't mind being associated with women who practically celebrated what happened in Israel, but she doesn't want to take our money. So I have nothing but contempt for many of the women taking those big fat salaries in the women's sector, and those women that have just allowed men to come in and parasitically invade it. Because there's another place that was like just for women, this sort of sanctuary kind of cheap holiday place. They also took men. You'd be hard pressed, right? You would be hard pressed to find a women's organization that sticks to women. And I just want to tell you, when there are people defending the Equality Act, these things are all connected. When people are defending the Equality Act and talking about strengthening it, let me just tell you this. The Equality Act is one of the reasons that many of these men and many of these dim-witted women have allowed these men to enter into all of these women's spaces. Because once you say proportionate, then that is open to interpretation. So at no point in the Equality Act does it say sex, meaning woman, adult, human, female, meaning male, adult, human, male, meaning infant, human, female. Doesn't say that in the Equality Act. It might sort of say it loosely somewhere, but then it says proportionate. In my mind, it is perfectly valid when it comes to sex or any characteristic, actually, to exclude people that don't share that characteristic. So if you say this is women only, and a woman means adult, human, female, then it's perfectly reasonable to exclude men. And that's why the Equality Act is a bunch of crap. And has really let people down. And then you've got dim-witted women and weak and dick-pandering women working in the women's sector who know about male violence because they see it every day. And then what they do is they just give it all away. And I'd like to say that it isn't the majority, but it is. Now it might not be people at the bottom rungs. It might not be those people. It might not be the women that do the really, really hard work. But the well-paid women, it absolutely is them. And I think it would be difficult to find one single well-paid woman who isn't bowing her head to this cult in the women's sector, because they are. They just definitely are. And then you get other people saying, oh, yeah, but what if they've tried? Well, I'm sorry, but it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to mount a campaign. It certainly wouldn't have been 7 years ago when this stuff started really getting quite bad for the women's sector. And it's just a lack of courage, and it's a lack of basic understanding about what is important. So that I just want to say before I do anything else, it's about time we stop treating women in the women's sector as if they are these sort of wonderful heroes who do so much. They don't. They're just paid to go to work like anybody else. And at the end of the day, I don't really think they care that much about the women that they're supposed to help. I think it is just a job. So I know this will alienate some women, and I absolutely don't care. Because it's got to be. I've got to be consistent. Otherwise, what the hell am I for? And I've got to be speaking the truth the whole time. Somebody's got to say these things rather than, oh, those in the women's sector, they've taught so hard, or those in the academies, they were blah, 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 blah. Then find someone talented enough to get the message out, women. Find a way. And I guess when we look at the post office and so on, these people were pushed around and just, but that was, again, that was by the people on good salaries. The people on good salaries thought it was okay to treat the rest of the people like shit and totally ignore them. That's what we're talking about in the women's sector. There are some well-paid women in the women's sector who care about themselves and their careers and their salaries more than they care about the women they're paid to look after. Okay. I can't get over just how nice this is. So this is hibiscus. But isn't it great? For the month of love, and then we got a nice little woman. So it's not just for February; it's for every day. But anyway, let's. So yesterday I talked about the BBC, and I want to talk a little bit more about the BBC and why the BBC should be completely unfunded. This is a CBBC program, so this is for school-age children. And this is what the BBC felt was appropriate for those school-age children.
In my family, there's my brother Joe, my mum Agnieszka, my dad Charlotte, and me May. Like, it's unusual for us to be seen apart. Like, it feels weird if we're not all together.
We are a bit of a unique family.
I'm sorry, should we have that again? Can I just say I've got 2 adult children, I've got 2 teenagers. Every single person in my house is a lot bigger than me, and I'm probably a lot bigger than I was maybe a year ago. But can I just say, I've never once done what this very fragile, wonderful mum has just done with her family.
My dad Charlotte and me May. Like, it's unusual for us to be seen apart. Like, it feels weird if we're
Oh, isn't that fun? Oh, it's so much fun being a man, gaslighting, coercing his children. And I just want you to bear in mind while you watch this guy that when you talk to children of these AGPs and wives of these AGPs, the story is often similar. So just get in your heads the special men that you're supposed to use pronouns for, those special men, like Debbie Hayton, or any of the other men that we're supposed to, some of you still do because I'm just going to say it, because you're stupid, still afford these men some sort of special rights into our spaces. So this is who these men are. And let's face it that I think this guy is relatively new, pretending to be a woman, and look at the age of his daughter. And often these AGPs decide that they're women when their daughters go through puberty. So I just want you to remember that when you're watching this particular thing, that this is really typical for all of these dirty perverts.
not all together.
We are a bit of a unique family. We always kind of try to just be a bit like happy-go-lucky kind of thing.
He's happy-go-lucky because all of his family are actually going along with this lie that he's become a woman. And like he stopped drinking every Friday in the working man's club and now tries to go to the ladies' night because he's such a special lady and he's so happy-go-lucky and everyone else is too fucking frightened to say really how they think.
We never look on the dull side of things.
That one.
What he means is nobody's allowed to look on the dull side of things. Nobody's allowed to say, Dad, you're really making me uncomfortable. Why don't you stop wearing my underwear?
My dad is now transitioned into a female and now my mum. I can't really remember what she was as a male.
He hasn't. He hasn't transitioned into anything. He's just started wearing clothes that he looks even more ridiculous in. And he's got a lipstick. Like most women who have tattoos, he's got a lipstick on his neck. Perfectly woman. Perfect woman.
But it's been like a couple years now. And
there you go. 2 years. 2 years. And she's what do you reckon? She's about 15. So definitely when his daughter hit puberty, he really couldn't keep that urge. Couldn't keep it anymore. Couldn't keep it inside his pants. And just for porn viewing, he had to bring it into his family.
And it's just, it feels like normal. I didn't really know what
Let's just acknowledge what it was that he just got out the wardrobe. Let's just acknowledge that. And the daughter's in there, isn't she?
I didn't really know what transgender feels like normal.
Yeah.
I didn't really.
And let me just say, can you hear the BBC music? Can you hear the children's BBC music? The la 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 la. Oh, it's so light and fun. And oh, isn't it like, oh, it's so great. It's just light and oh, it's so much fun and light and not serious. And they're just a regular family.
Really know what transgender was. I was 12 or something, so I didn't really know what it was. But I remember walking into the room and seeing my mum helping Charlotte put makeup on for the first time.
So not Dad anymore, Charlotte. Although in many ways that's probably quite good because it means maybe she can put a lot of distance there. But this girl has lost her dad because I would imagine prior to him pretending to be a woman, she had a dad.
I was just confused. I was like, what's going on? Like, why are you putting makeup on? It's not like normal for a guy to put makeup on.
The first time was a really actually hard time, actually knowing that she wanted to transition. But then I'm just had a couple of days and step back and have a thinking about it. I said, well, she's trapped.
So after a few days of consistent coercive control, making his wife feel guilty so that he can center himself further, and maybe what was preceding this, and I don't know this, I'm just saying I think this, that those men who decide this, I wonder if sometimes they're really, really unbearable, blokey blokes, thoughtless, just like the worst of thoughtless, doesn't do housework, doesn't consider stuff, doesn't have any feelings, couldn't give a shit about anyone or anything. And then these women trapped in these marriages with these very selfish, overtly kind of blokey blokes. Maybe they think that woman that they are now married to is going to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit softer. Maybe they can talk to them a bit more, and maybe it replaces this really horrible man that they believe they were married to, and they can say, well, maybe he was just so awful because he was so trapped. Poor man. It's very much like if I just dust a bit better, maybe he won't punch me. If I'm just a bit quieter, maybe I won't get a beating when he's in a bad mood. If I just make myself small and insignificant, then maybe I'm not going to cop for any of the things that he is deciding to throw at me.
In the body, what you don't want. It's more like you've been mourning because the person what was with you there for a little years, it's gone now.
It's more mourning. It's more like mourning. Can I just say to this wife here and to any of you in these sorts of situations, divorce is a lot better for you than mourning someone that you have to pretend never existed that still lives with you. Divorce. It's a really good thing. And if you're not married, you don't even need to do that. You can just kick him out.
It's not anymore, and the new person come out.
The new person came out. Just makes me think that this whole thing, it just is so mad, isn't it? It's just so mad. That new person, like, what does that mean? New person came out, what, as soon as he put a skirt on, he stopped being such an asshole.
But the whole transition, I think, was just slowly introduced rather than just sitting down and going, this is how it's going to be. This is
What I said to my whole family, right? I didn't say that this is how it's going to be. It couldn't be that overt. I couldn't actually own my feelings that well. So what I did is I just slowly forced them to put up with it. Slowly. I just slowly made them accept it all. I just said to my wife, it's only a bit of nail polish. It's only a bit of eye makeup. It's only a bad wig. And then eventually she didn't even know where her boundaries were anymore. I'm really veering off the accent, so I do apologise.
what it's going to be. It was just introduced slowly.
Her eyes are saying, help me. I lost myself so long ago that I can't even remember how he did this to us. But slowly but surely, I lost everything about myself. I lost all my self-esteem and dignity. I lost being able to say the word no. And still, I find it really difficult to tell myself that we did this and it's all good and it's an equal thing rather than we've moved everything around him. And then I just want you to notice that when they go out walking in town, look where he is. I bet he didn't. Look, I know this. I know this to be true, that a lot of these men couldn't give a shit about their children, and all of a sudden they become mothers and they think that they start holding their kids' hands or they start being fun with their children. Like still dad fun, not kind of they still don't play the role of a mother because they don't know how to. But they just do this thing where they almost start having a relationship with their children as if their children were really small infants as well. I used to see a man where I live. Terrible bad wig. Looking very much like this guy, like just as masculine as this man, just as much of a kind of a working class bloke as this man here in the film. And he would be holding his 13-year-old daughter's hand to school. Like it just is this it's performative. It's like so much of this, nothing of this is real.
Go on lots of adventures. We try to make the kids' lives kind of one big adventure. We go on like walks, we go on hiking trips, we take
Ooh. Right, I want you to watch her face. Watch her face. God, that woman. Get out, love. Get out.
adventure, we go on like walks, we go on hiking trips, we take a rucksack, we take a couple of
She is thinking, I don't think I can do a Polish accent. She's thinking, this is shit. This is bullshit.
sandwiches. So as a family, we're kind of joined at the hip with each other 24/7. With the whole family has become just such a stronger
Joined at the hip with each other 24/7. Oh, I can just feel it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I feel that this man was was a horrible individual and treated his family like shit and probably had not much to do with them. His life has probably always been about him.
family. It's become much better. It's become one.
Just remember, this is on Children's BBC. So this is our state broadcaster, and this is on CBBC, which I don't know if it still exists, but it was a channel. So you had like a preschool channel, and then you have like a school kids channel. So probably catering from about sort of 5 to maybe 8 to 13, 14 years old.
Unit more than like 5 individuals.
I know when Charlotte first started transitioning, she was like very self-conscious of her and was scared to go out.
She was like
What she did is she made us all think that she was really, really wonderful. So then what we did is we just encouraged her, and everything became about her as if she was a victim. So we'd forget how we felt about everything.
hear or like see people like saying something, and that would like put her down massively. Like she wouldn't want to go out for like a week, something like that, just because it would just put her down that badly.
Why do the kids know this? Ask yourself that, bearing in mind that the girl was 12 and the boy's younger. So I reckon he was maybe 9. Why do they know that people said something to their dad and then their dad was worried about going out? Like, what is that manipulation there? What is that? Because it's not real. Like, you wouldn't, would you? I mean, things have happened to me before when I've been with my children, like a bit of like catcalling type stuff. I don't then say to my children, I'm so scared about going out. It's very, very much about this. Very much about how he can manipulate his family to becoming his shield and enabling him to do whatever he wants because the whole world is against him and they're a family, so they have to stand right next to him and never question anything that he does because the whole world basically wants to beat the crap out of him.
Because it probably got to her. To me, it was annoying. Why'd you have to just like talk about her or like say stuff? Just like leave her be.
From a person that's been solo and
Oh, there's a smaller child as well. Jesus Christ. So there's 3 children.
not wanting to leave the house, to this person that wants to do stuff and wants to be seen, is actually amazing how much confidence she's got. She's that type of person that wants to share everything and shares her positivity with.
He shares his bras, his pants, his theories about periods. He shares, look at that. Look at that. Says it all. Look at that. Jesus Christ.
the world and tries to make everyone better and make everyone happy. I'm so proud of what she's done and how she's transitioned and into this amazing female.
Stories that shape us. Yes, they do. So that's crazy, isn't it? So this is what the state broadcaster is doing. That's what has been doing. I think there was a program called My Name is Leo a really long time ago, and that had Polly Carmichael. Should be behind bars. That Polly Carmichael, do you know the one from the Tavistock, the liar, the woman who lied, the woman who said puberty blockers were reversible? I firmly believe she knew that they weren't. But there's many women throughout these sectors, whether it's psychotherapy, whether it's medicine, whether it's in women's sectors, all these places that are supposed to be decent, center the victim, the service user, the patient, that they just don't. The BBC is absolutely riddled with people who want to force feed impressionable people with this crap. I think we all saw exactly who that was in that clip. And that was supposed to persuade you all that it was a great, wonderful thing. I mean, I think it's great that he was such an unlikable person, but I hope whoever his wife is, I hope she's got out. I hope the kids have understood that you can. I don't know about you. I can feel it, right? I feel it. I feel that he was really not a very nice, uninterested, self-absorbed man that did manly man things, like, probably went for a drink after work, probably didn't come home. I don't know this. I can just feel it. And then what he did is he pretended to be a woman, and then all of a sudden he's reinvented and he can make up for all the other stuff, because actually his desire, his fetish to be recognized as a woman, to force the people around him into pretending that they see a woman so he can savor it up for when he's feeling super, super AGP on his own, taking some selfies and some underwear and some sexy clothing and pretending he's like a 20-year-old woman going through puberty. His desire to do that is so strong that he's willing to pretend that he's a completely different person in order to do it. So, anyway, I thought I'd just be a bit, I thought I'd just be a little bit hardline today, because I'm really quite fed up with being one of the only hardline people there is speaking out. But the Equality Act is a pile of crap. That is why so many people are misinformed. It's not just because Stonewall came in and said something. It's because the Equality Act doesn't say anything about protecting women, really. It says proportionate. And what is proportionate? Getting undressed, is that proportionate? Just wanting to only have female voices, is that proportionate? A women's only choir that only has sopranos, is that proportionate? Not to let a man with a great big deep tenor voice in it? I mean, what is proportionate? It's just crazy. I think often when people write laws, they have one thing in mind, one set of one incidence in mind, and then the rest of it, they just can't be relied upon to make good decisions. Okay, so if you love this top, this is hibiscus, you should go to the store and get one, because it's fantastic. I shall see you in Exeter tomorrow. It should be so much fun. If you can, come to Exeter, stand up and be counted. Then I promise we will win. If you can, stay out of drama, stay out of arguing with TRAs. Never going to be any good. Nothing fruitful about arguing with people on Twitter. Nobody goes away from Twitter and then says, "Do you know what? That TERF arguing with me makes me realize that my whole life is a lie." If you can do that, if you can focus on the good things that you can do rather than wasting time on things that will never get you anywhere, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose.